Hey everyone, it's Kim Allen at Sincerely Sublime Designs, and I am excited to bring you day 2 of our holiday craft along. Yesterday we did 2 projects using the Jolly Holly bundle. We've got this cute little one with the fun fold that opens up like an accordion, and then we also have this one that has the gold foil that turned out really pretty. These 2 were designed by me. Today's projects, we've got a card and a box, were designed by my friend Monica, and I am so excited to share them with you. Now, if you ordered the craft along, you received your kit, and you also received a tutorial with all the directions, so you can follow right along with me. If you still want to participate and didn't to start with, I am still willing to cut a kit for you and put it together for you so that you can create the projects also. I am going to put a link in the comment section so that you can check it out and see what you think. There's also the option to get the PDF by placing a $50 order. So those are just kind of some of the housekeeping things. So let's go ahead and jump right in and we'll get started with today's projects. Let me change the camera view. Here we go. So today we've got the first project, which is this adorable Christmas card, and I cannot wait to show you how this all came together. So let me grab the pieces. Okay, we are going to start with a 5.5 by 8.5 card base scored at 4 1/4. We're just going to fold that right along the score line, and it's going to be a card that goes that way. Let me move this over to the side so you can see that and see this. Now we've got some of the DSP. If you purchase the kit, you got a half a pack of the Regal Distress DSP, and that's what we're using to go along with the Jolly Holly bundle. Let me grab my seal. And we are just going to we're going to start with the gold and white, and we are going to add that to the front. Stick that right on there. Now I told you a little trick yesterday, and that can be applied again. If you don't want to use this huge piece of DSP, you can always cut out a rectangle on the inside so that you can use it for something else. And then we are going to use this leaf pattern, and it is going to go right over top of it with just a little bit of the sticking out. So we've got that as our card front. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add, let me check so we've got this piece is going to go on next, but we're going to do something first before we add it. So with this soft seafoam piece, we are going to use the hybrid embossing folder, and it is a lot of fun and a very neat tool. So it looks like this. You open it up, and it's got this piece that cuts, and you have to figure out which way it goes, which is where I always struggle. And once you figure out where it goes, it doesn't even move. It's just kind of gripped in place. So you've got that. And then I'm going to take my piece of cardstock and I'm going to lay it right inside there. And I'm going to close it up. And then I'm going to take it over to my cutting machine and I'm going to put it through. So you've got this, and I haven't opened it yet. So when I open it up and take out the metal, I'm left with this piece. Now what's really cool is that these holly leaves and berries aren't cut all the way through. They're only cut somewhat through. So you could go through and punch them out if you wanted to for another project, or we are going to leave them in place. But we're just going to kind of fluff them up a little bit so that we can see underneath. Now, if when you do this, you end up with any pieces that fall away from the piece of soft seafoam, hold on to them because we're going to add them back on in just a minute. And all I had was a couple tiny little pieces, so I'm not going to worry about them. But on this card, you can see this piece here had actually, that leaf had actually fallen out, and this leaf here had fallen out. So what I did was, once I had it attached to the Pretty Peacock, I just went in and added those with a little bit of glue. Okay, so now that I've got this piece, let me move this out of the way. Oh, I feel very messy, sorry. Okay, so I am going to add this layer to the Pretty Peacock. And I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of seal on some of the flat parts where there are not leaves, because I want my leaves to kind of lift up. This is probably one of those projects that if you use liquid glue, it's probably your best option. I tend not to grab the liquid glue because I'm just messy, and it always ends up looking like a kindergartner made it. So I'm just going to layer that right on there. You can see when I talk about adding in those pieces, so if I wanted to go back in and add this tiny little piece, I could, just so that it doesn't have that, but I'm not going to worry about it. But that's what I meant by adding those little pieces back in. So now you've got these little leaves, and if you fluff them up a little bit more, you get to see the Pretty Peacock underneath, and I think it just gives such a cool little touch. I'm just gonna just keep fluffing them, and you could even take your bone folder and curl them a little bit so that they come up a little bit more naturally. The only thing is that when you put it in the envelope, it's probably gonna push it a little bit back down. But you can see it makes for a neat little effect. Okay, so then the next thing that I am going to do is I am going to wrap a length of the gold striped metallic ribbon around here. Actually, I'm going to glue. So you've got this cherry cobbler label, and you can see, let me see, where did I put my dies? With this bundle, you got this die set, and it's got two of these labels, which are really neat stitched rectangles. And so the cherry cobbler one is going to be the larger of the two, and then you're also going to have a white one, which is the smaller of the two. They're great for layering. So I am going to use dimensionals. If I can find, here they are. I got everything everywhere. And I am just going to add this. Take this and just add it right over here with dimensionals, just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to pull it all the way over, and I'm going to tie it over here at the edge of the cherry cobbler. Of course, I did not leave enough ribbon, so pull it a little bit more. I was thinking that was attached for some reason, but it's not. And I'm just going to come over here. Oh, goodness gracious, why is this ribbon giving me such a fit? Let's try this again. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to tie it over here at the edge. Up a little bit. Do a bow. And I know a lot of you hate to tie bows. It's not my favorite thing, but this ribbon actually makes it not too bad. And then I'm just going to slide it over. I want it to be right at that edge, and it's not the prettiest bow, so we are going to kind of play with it a little bit. There we go. Okay, that looks a little better. Then we'll trim it. If I have scissors. How did I not bring the scissors in here? Let me go grab those while I think about it. can't do without scissors. In fact, I had both of them laying on the kitchen table. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so now back to it. We're gonna cut this here. And now we've got our bow. We've got this piece, and we are gonna layer it onto the card using dimensionals. I love all the dimension on this card. And we're gonna stick it right about there. Okay, and then we've got this little piece that is gonna go right there. And if you remember, last night we used Merry Christmas and we used the script of Christmas and the Merry in print, and tonight we're gonna do both in script. So I'm gonna show you kind of how fun it is to kind of get it placed where you want it to be. So I am gonna start with the Christmas part. I like to start with the bottom just because that way I have a little more room in case I need it to work with at the top. So I'm just gonna come in pretty far over. This is Cherry Cobbler ink, and I'm just gonna stamp Christmas. And then I'm gonna use the Merry script, and it's just in this set. And I love how we've got all these little words that you can add together. Let's see, so we'll pull out Merry. And I'm also gonna use Cherry Cobbler. And I'm just gonna make it so that it fits right over the top. There we go. And it almost looks like it was one stamp, but I got it exactly where I wanted to. I took up that whole rectangle, and it looks great. Okay, so then we are gonna add this to our card, and I'm gonna close up the Cherry Cobbler or it will end up on everything. And we're just gonna add, and I'm just gonna put one there, one above it, one more below it. That way the ribbon stays in place and it's attached. So I've realized that one of the reasons I really struggle doing videos is that I am not good at doing two things at one time. I am not a multitasker. And so I apologize if I stop talking or whatever I'm doing, because this is not my, I always make mistakes when I try to do two things at the same time. So, that is crooked. So I'm just gonna, we're just gonna leave it and let it be. Okay, so the next part of this is to stamp the bells. And we are gonna just pull out, and I love that Monica used the bells because bells are not something that I ever use. They're just not my style. But they turned out so cute on this, and I love it, and I'm so glad that I got to do it. Okay, so we're gonna stamp it in Memento on this little scrap piece of basic white. Cute little bells. Close up the black. And then we are going to color them in with blends. So I'm going to start with Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use the light one. And I am going to color all of the bells. I think the best thing about blends is that they have the capability of making you look artistic, because I am not. So I'm just going to color all of that in with the light. And then what I'm going to do is take the dark and give it some extra color on those bands. And right there, to give it a little bit more. And then I'm gonna take the light cherry cobbler and I'm just gonna color in the bow. And that gives us our little bow. Now there is a die for this that is in the set. So I am just gonna take the die over to the embossing machine. We are gonna cut it out. And you end up with the pretty little bells. And we're gonna stick those right on there using some more dimensionals. That's probably one of those things that probably only needed one, but we will use two so it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm just gonna stick that right there. Now what I love about this card is what Monica did with the berries. So remember last night we added the clear berries onto the gold foil to give it that little bit of texture. Tonight we're going to use the red berries in the center of these leaves. And you can, you know, just kind of position them however you want. Like that's a little foursome if you wanted to add one right in there. Of course, now it's not going to stick to anything but my finger. Nope, there we go. Add that. And then we can add a little, whoops, this one just fell apart. Gonna put it back together. I clearly left the sticky behind is what happened. So we are not gonna use that one. We're gonna use this one. And add that right there. And if you wanted to add some more, you could go in and add, you know, some of the little singles through there. You can add another 3. I tend to like to do things in 3s, so I think I might just stick with that. Actually, you know what? I think we're gonna add one down here at the bottom because I think it'd be cute. It's just calling for one. There we go. So we're gonna add that. And there's the card. Isn't that adorable? Oh, I love it. Okay, now for the inside, because this card has a very cute inside, we are going to stamp it with wishing you and yours all the best. Now what I like about this is that we're putting the sentiment down in the corner. Because I always feel like whenever you try to put the sentiment in the middle, it always ends up off. Never straight, always off. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do those little leaves first, because I think it would be easier to place them and then go with the words. So let's go with the leaves, and we're going to stamp them in Memento. Put them right down here in the corner. Got that. Ugh, that's kind of smudged. Actually, you know what? It's not that bad, is it? No, it doesn't look bad. We're going to go with it. And then we are going to stamp the wishing you and yours all the best in cherry cobbler. There we go. And let me close up the ink pads, get them out of the way. Berries up there. Okay, and then we're just going to color these in. In the tutorial, it calls for Lost Lagoon, and I realized that mine, I do not have Lost Lagoon, so I pulled out Soft Sea Foam to match the front of the card, and I'm just going to color this in the Soft Sea Foam. Just give it a little bit of color. I'm doing the light. And then I can take my dark and just kind of give it some extra. Okay. And then take the cherry cobbler and color in those berries. And then that just gets glued right on the inside with seal. There we go. And you've got a Christmas card that's all ready to send. Isn't it pretty? I just love how those like holly leaves come up. Okay, so that is our first project. Let me put that out of the way, and I will show you our second project, which you are going to love. It is this cute little box, and inside is a surprise. If you got the kit from me, you have a little pillow gift, and it is perfect for the inside of this box. So let me show you. Of course, now you know I can't get it open. Here we go. Okay. So you untie it, and then when you lift the lid, you've got a bottle of Bath and Body Works Christmas hand soap. So it's the perfect size to go right in there. So if you got the kit from me and you have your gift, you can stick it right in there and you've got something ready to go for the holidays. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make one of these. And I love this box. And you could adjust the size if you have something else that you want to put in here, like a bottle of like spray, like room spray or whatever. But such a cute little box. So let me show you how to make it. Now, if you got the tutorial, you have all the dimensions, and I will try to run down what they are real quick just so you can see. But you've got the base of the box is going to be Lost Lagoon, and the top of the box is going to be Cherry Cobbler. And I think you can see you've got the score lines. If you ordered the kit, this is what you received, and I'm going to show you how we're going to cut it to make it into the box. So that is the first thing that we are going to do. Okay, so, and this is what I need scissors for. So let's start with the base, which is going to be the Lost Lagoon. Let me tell you what the dimensions of this are real quick. So the base of the box is 8 1/4 this way by 10. And you're going to score along this side, and you're going to start, actually we're going to start this way, at 2 1/16, 4 3/4, 6 13/16, and 9 1/2. And then you're going to rotate it counterclockwise, and you've got this side scored at 2 1/16. Okay, so then what you're going to do is we are going to cut along the lines down here at the bottom. So I don't ever just cut right on the line because sometimes it makes the box hard to put together. So I'll just kind of cut a little bit of a V. So then when you get to that top, you can just pull it out and you've got like a little, it just makes it go together without feeling too snug, I guess you could say. Sometimes it's just too snug. Okay. And then for this one over here, we're gonna cut it off. So it's just gonna come like that and then down. Okay, so this is our base. And then we're just gonna fold it really good along those score lines. Okay, so you've got that. And then we're gonna fold the panels on the bottom down. Okay. Now before we put it together, we are gonna add DSP, because if you wait until you put it together, it is much harder to get it centered. So we've got the Regal Distress DSP again, cut into 4 rectangles. You've got 2 that are the wider ones and 2 that are the skinnier ones, and they are just gonna go right on here. So I am gonna add a little bit of DSP, a little bit of seal, and we're gonna put these right on here. There we go. And then the wider one is next. And you want to make sure you put the leaves going up. Stick that there. Put that there, and then we've got this larger one. I'm amazed that Zoe didn't bark. She just saw the UPS man outside and decided not to bark. So that was pretty good. Okay, so now we've got this. We are going to put it together using tear and tape. So I am going to take some, I'm going to put it right along this flap. And then I'm going to put a little bit more on the other flaps. I'm going to skip the first one. Flip it over and do that first one on this side. That'll be the outside piece. Okay, so then I'm just going to take them off. And then you are just going to fold it up. Pull this one, I always just tuck that in first. Make sure it's lined up. Okay, and then this piece will go right over the top. Always take the scissors and just kind of go inside and just kind of run it along that piece. You can also use your bone folder to do that, just to make sure it's all put together. So that's the bottom of our box. Now what we're going to do is we're going to punch 2 holes for our ribbon to come through, and I'm going to use this little slip punch. I know it's part of a set of 3 and I forget what they are called, but I use these all the time for ribbon. And you are going to just put 2 holes a little ways down on the narrower sides. And what that does is that's going to let our ribbon, we've got 40 inches of this gold ribbon, and you're going to pull it in through the hole. It's always harder when my hands are shaking. And then you're gonna put it through here. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so you've got it like this. Now what's going to happen, you've got all this extra. Okay, you're going to take, pull it out. You're going to take the bottle of soap and you're just going to push the ribbon down. And then that leaves you. Of course, it didn't push it down. We're going to try that again. There we go. Okay. So now it's ready for the lid. So let's do that part next. Move that off to the side. So now you've got the cherry cobbler, and the dimensions for this, for the lid, are 8 1/4 by 9 3/4. And along the 9 3/4 side, we are going to score it at 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8, and 9 1/4. You'll rotate it clockwise this time and score along the 8 1/4 side at 2 inches. Okay, so you've got the same, almost the same exact size, just a little bit smaller. Those 1/8 and 1/16 of an inch do matter. Okay, so we're going to cut this one the same way that we cut the other one. Putting those little V's down there at the bottom. And once you have those, then you're going to do the same thing over here on this flap. You're going to cut it off and cut it at an angle up. Okay, so it's going to look just like that. It's just the opposite. On the other one, you had the little tiny flap over here. Okay, then we're just going to take it and we are going to fold all the score lines. And then we are going to add the DSP to these panels. So you've got 2 of the skinnier panels and 2 of the wider panels. So we are going to put seal on the back of them. I don't know why I keep saying DSP on the back of them. Of course, now I have run out of seal, so let me get a refill real quick. Now it's stuck to everything. Let's see. This always happens at the most inopportune time. So we're just going to pop it in here. And keep going. And now she's going to bark. I apologize. Okay, and we're going to stick these panels right on here. She is not happy with the FedEx truck that's now here. Okay, we've got all those panels, and then we're just going to put it together the same way we did the other piece. Add the tear and tape. Right down there. That one. I think. Come on. There we go. Flip it over and add a piece on here. Okay. And then we will pull these off. I am so sorry. Zoe. It's real life, right? There's nobody else here to yell at her. Let's see. Then we will take this and we will just put it together. And right on the top. Actually, let's do that first. Okay, so that gives us the top of our box. And now all we need to do, well, that's the other one. We've got that all set up and ready to go for us. We're just gonna stick the lid right inside of here. It goes right on top, just like that. And then we can tie it up in a bow at the top, and we're gonna make a cute little tag to go with it. Okay, so we've got this. Now for the tag, I went ahead and did some of the work for you so that, oh, wait a minute. This is the tag I've already made. Let's see. We've got the other tags here, and I cut, on the tutorial, it tells you that it's Lost Lagoon. I accidentally cut it as Pretty Peacock. So I'm just going to use Pretty Peacock, but it would match better with Lost Lagoon. I'm just going to cut those through there. Now for the greeting on the tag, you can see that it says wishing you. Well, this comes from the one that is wishing you and yours all the best. So I am going to show you an easy way to do that. I'm going to get it nice and clean. Now, when they made this stamp, they did us a big favor by giving us a lot of space. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to take the ink pad and the stamp, and I'm going to just get wishing. You can see it's really easy just to get it along the edge. So I now have ink on wishing, and then I'm going to pull it over here to the corner, and I'm just going to get you. So now I have wishing and you, and I can take it and stamp it. Hopefully I cleaned it good enough so that when I stamp it, you just see wishing you. And what's fun about this is that now we're going to add joy. This joy was stamped with Versamark and embossed with metallic embossing powder. The other way that you could do this, you could also use the die. The joy, it cuts it right out. You could do this with gold foil. I had a really bad experience with embossing powder and gold. So like whenever I use it, it gives me kind of memories of the time that I burned our carpet up using embossing powder. If you've never heard my Christmas story, I'll tell you really quick. It was our first Christmas in our house, and I decided I was going to make Christmas cards. A friend of mine was a dots consultant, which was what Close to My Heart was in its earliest days. And so she had taught me how to do it, and I was going to do these beautiful embossed Christmas cards, or at least I thought they were beautiful. Now they're probably pretty hideous. It was 26 years ago. But I had stamped them all and laid them all out on the carpet and decided I was not going to hold them and emboss them because it was hot. So I laid them all out along the carpet, and I just went from card to card with the heat tool and melted the whatever it was that they put on carpet to keep it, so that it didn't get stains. But so then we ended up with all of these little card rectangles all over our new carpet, and it was quite the story to explain to Jonathan, but we're still married 26 years later, so I guess it wasn't that bad. But so I get just like flashbacks using embossing powder. But so my first thought was, oh, I could do this with gold foil, but I went ahead and did it with the embossing powder so that I could show you. And again, this is probably one of those times when liquid glue would probably be your best bet. I'm just gonna stick some seal right on there and stick it on. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for my little flower here. I stamped it on white and cut it out with die cut with the die. And so we've got that little poinsettia, and I can add a little berry. Here they are. Just a little red berry right in the middle. And you've got a fun little tag to go on the box. So then what you can do is thread them through. Now I kind of like to offset it a little bit, so I'll probably just line up the holes and then just add, let's see, we'll add a little bit of seal to the back of this and then just kind of offset it a little bit so the ribbon can still come through. Like, of course, and then it doesn't stick, right? There we go. Let's see if it works this time. Okay. And then I'm just gonna pull this, thread it through. And then I'm just gonna tie it. You've got a cute little gift that's all ready to go. And I think this would be so much fun. We've got so many different DSPs that would kind of coordinate well with some of the scents that Bath & Body Works sells. You know, like a good fall scent with the pumpkin paper or something. It'd be so much fun. And then I know that like they have the different like cocktail scents. I think there was one with mimosa or something that would be cute with the celebratory sips paper. I just think it would be so much fun to make these in all different seasons and just such a fun little gift that you could give to somebody. So I hope that you've liked our projects today. Let me show you again. We've got, move all this out of the way. I've got such a mess. Okay, we've got these two. Got that cute little tag. Then we've got the two from last night. So you've got these four using the Jolly Holly bundle. And I'm going to show you two other ones that I made that I really, really like. There's that one. And this one, just some fun little cards using this bundle. You'll see these in some Christmas card classes this fall. I'm excited to do. So this was the Jolly Holly bundle. Did the 4 projects last night and tonight for the craft along. Tomorrow we'll start the Tractor and Company, and these projects are so cute. You're gonna love them. We're gonna go from elegant and, you know, traditional Christmas looking to some fun and playful, whimsical, I guess you could say, cards that you will really enjoy. So like I said, it's not too late. If you still want the kit, I'm happy to cut one for you. Feel free to click the link and register for it. Also, if you place a $50 order, you can get the PDF for free. So I hope that you've enjoyed these projects, and I will see you tomorrow night for Tractor and Company.